afternoon, depending on where you're at. Happy Monday. Going to talk about a few things real quick. Damn, this keyboard, y'all. Yep, so let everybody get in here, connect, talk about this draft for a little bit. I got a few minutes. We're not going to go too long today, but we'll definitely dive in here and answer some of y'all questions. So hopefully everyone's having a good one. And yeah, we'll talk about it. Oh, shit. There we go. It's tripod. All right, so salute to everybody out there. CFO gang, man. What's up, Drill? What's going on with you, dog, man? Feeling good, man. It's Monday. Feeling good on this Monday. What up, bro? What's up, Common, bro? Feeling good. Let's see here. Let everybody know. A few free minutes. Let's talk draft. Nice. Gotta let the people on Twitter know that we going live, but we're not doing shit on Twitter. So grades, yeah. So we're gonna do a grades video. Honestly, like me personally, I'm not much of a draft grades guy. I know some people kind of like it, but I mean, it really doesn't mean anything, right? Because shit, one media outlet will give the Cowboys an A, one media outlet will give the Cowboys an F. So I really don't do grades, but I can do it. I'll just do it for a conversation's sake. But I really kind of just grade the overall picks. Now, I did the film session on Phil Moffitt today. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. We're going to do pretty much everybody. We're going to do undrafted guys. We're going to do drafted guys, even though there was a lot of Tyler Booker film already out there. I'm going to do my version of Tyler Booker. What's good, Pusha T Tuck? No, I'm chilling, bro. So we're going to break down all the prospects, man, from the draft picks to the undrafted guys as well. So I got a lot of them already queued up because I chopped them up yesterday. Just got to do all the edits and stuff. And so salute to that. Did Phil Moffitt today. Not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I kind of want to mix it up. I don't want to do just drafted guys, but I also want to do undrafted guys as well. So we'll kind of mix it up. But I will say this. I see kind of online the divide amongst Cowboys Nation, right? A divide amongst Cowboys Nation online. Tuck, what else is new, right? About the draft class. And I see both sides to it. So I'll kind of explain, right? So when it comes to the 2025 draft class the Dallas Cowboys just had, I personally believe they did a phenomenal job with this draft, right? I think they did a phenomenal job with this draft. So I feel like what they really did is they went out there, they set their board, and they let the board fall to them. So I know we always argue pre-draft, BPA versus need, BPA versus need, BPA versus need. I felt like this was more of a BPA-ish type draft. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. David, see, what's up, J Tuck? Appreciate your draft coverage and glad you made it back safe. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, made it back Saturday. Got my boy ready for prom. He had his senior prom. And then tonight, J Tuck Jr.'s art is going to be at the Kansas City Art Gala. They're going to recognize him, so I got to get ready for that probably like at 4:30. So that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of on the move today, right? Because I'm definitely not going like this. This is my workout gear. I'm about to go for a walk here in a second. Yeah, overall, I think it was a phenomenal draft class. I think they had a good board set and they let the board kind of just fall to them and they got extreme value, right? Even after the Tyler Booker to go get, Donovan, I feel like that was a massive steal. Now, if you're looking at it from just a draft perspective, right, you might sit back and say, well, we spent a second round pick on Sam Williams, and he's in his contract year, so he deserves the reps. And we just spent a second round pick last year on Marshawn Nealon, right? So he deserves the reps. And then we just brought in Dante Fowler and paid him the most we've paid an outside free agent acquisition in years. He deserves the reps. Why did we go defensive end? Well, because honestly, personally, I had a first round grade on Donovan. I think the Cowboys probably did as well. I thought he was going to go to Philly. I thought he would have been the perfect fit for Philly. but he's a disrupted guy, 17 sacks last year. If he sits there and falls to you in the second round at pick 44, you might just grab him and say, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? You might just grab him and say, I'm good. Um, and I see, Devon, you're kind of mentioning, right, the hot topic button with the wide receiver. I really think, and this is just me, it's not no inside or anything, right? It's kind of just me guesstimating how these things typically work. I just think, and we've said this leading up to the draft, this wide receiver class was a little shaky. It was a little shaky to begin with, right? It was a little shaky to begin with because even look how other teams view this wide receiver class. So it was a little shaky to begin with. I feel like if Mac was there at 12, he would have been in consideration. But outside of that, I don't think that anybody was probably graded higher than Tyler Booker. That's why when I did the show with Lou and DMV leading up to the draft, I felt like Tyler Booker was into play because I don't see how, just from a scouting perspective, you could have Matthew Golden graded higher than Tyler Booker, even Emeka graded, or Luther Burton graded higher than Tyler Booker. So knowing how the Cowboys simply do things, I felt like Tyler Booker was in the play, right? And then you get into the second round, right? Even though the running backs flew off, right? Judkins was already gone. Then you have Henderson. So those running backs that we're kind of looking at, they really flew. I still don't think that the Cowboys would have had a Jaden Higgins or a Jalen Noel or a Trey Harris graded higher than Donovan if they were doing things properly. You know what I'm saying? And here's what I'll say, right? We all sit back and watch the draft, and if there's any inclination that these NFL teams, even though they're billion-dollar franchises, right, in the NFL glitzing game, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Sit back and just look at what the Cleveland Browns was doing. Bro, they have no idea. The Cleveland Browns, it felt like you had two different teams drafting. You see what I'm saying? Where you took Dylan Gabriel, but then all of a sudden you took Shador, and then you took Judkins, and then you also took Dylan Sampson. So NFL teams, as my dog Vosh will say, suck at drafting. They really do. The Cleveland Browns was just grabbing shit, and they really had no plans of this draft. You see what I'm saying? So with that, I don't see in the second round how any of these wide receivers would have been graded over Donovan. All right. So then it comes to the third round pick when it comes to Siobhan, and we know that he had the ACL injury. But me personally, without the injury, I would say, what's up, Blue? What's up, my dog? Appreciate Jeremy for the super chat. I really like Blue. We'll talk about Blue in a minute, bro. I really like Blue as well. When it comes to Siobhan, I really like Siobhan as a player. I had a first round grade on him, but he was second on my board just because of the injury, right? But I still don't see a wide receiver, even in the third, that you would have graded higher than him. So I feel like, think of it as this way, right? You're my boy, Blue, right? Think of it like this way. If you do fantasy football, we all do fantasy football, and you set up your auto queue, and just everything in your queue was just falling right to you. You see what I'm saying? Because teams were grabbing so much random shit. I really feel like that's how the Cowboys handled this draft. Like, all these teams were being chaotic, and the Cowboys sit there and had their board and was like, I'm sure Siobhan Revel was probably a top 50 player on the Cowboys board, and he fell to them in the third, right? So even though you might have considered grabbing a wide receiver in the third, and we feel like that would have been helpful, you probably had a wide receiver graded at, let's say, 90. So let's say you had Higgins or Noel or Trey Harris graded at 90, all right? But you had Siobhan graded at 45, and you're sitting here in the third round, you're probably going to go with your higher graded player, right? And I just feel like this wide receiver class wasn't strong enough to really boost themselves as a priority draft-wise on the Dallas Cowboys board. We went through the fourth. My one thing, you know what I'm saying, kind of sitting back a little bit, but we talked about, Jaden Blue, right? Jaden Blue is a phenomenal second gear guy, explosiveness. And I feel like he was something that we really missed last year. And now that we got that back, do I think Jaden Blue is a bell cow back? Absolutely not, right? But he is a guy that's going to give us the change of pace opposite whoever, whether that's Javonte Williams, who I think if I had to guesstimate right now, Javonte Williams would be RB1. Blue will probably be second. But as I mentioned in the Phil Maffa breakdown today, it could be a situation where Maffa kind of works his way out there. But I don't know if I sound weird by saying this, but I'm still highly optimistic over Javonte Williams. Like, if you told me to go between Javonte Williams and Rico, I am going with Javonte Williams because one, he's still younger. Two, he does have upside potential. And he does do things that Rico just can't do, and especially behind this offensive line. So I am not out on Javonte Williams. Shameless plug, right? Film session for Javonte Williams. I think that he's definitely going to be an upgrade over the running back position at the running back position over what we currently have because he bounced back after the injury. Then you sprinkle in Blue behind that. That's your gear. That's your burst. That's your Pollard. That's your Gibbs. That's your guy that can take a simple swing pass out the backfield and go hit his head on the goalpost. I feel like even though we didn't get what we wanted at the wide receiver position, or sorry, the running back position, I still feel like we should have enough, right? I feel like our running back room is that drastically improved from last year. Now, is it sexy, right? Are you going to buy a Javonte Williams jersey? Probably not. Are you going to buy a blue jersey anytime soon? Probably not, right? It's still kind of RB by committee, but I think our committee is a whole lot stronger than where we were this time last year. Than we were at this time last year. So overall, I like that. Let me make sure I got the picks lined up properly because it was flying off the board. Okay, let's see here. Then I think Shamar was after that, right? Was after Blue, right? Draft picks. Let me see. What picks did we take these guys at? All right, so, all right, so yeah. So then we went Booker, of course, Donovan, boom, Siobhan, boom, Jaden, boom. Then Shamar James, right? Shamar James, linebacker. The thing that I like, and let's say give him number 23. The thing that I like about Shamar James is he's not super freakish athletic wise, right? His athleticism, we'll get to the film tomorrow, right? I think I'm gonna do Shamar James tomorrow because y'all know I love the linebacker position. So he's not super freakish athletically, but he's good coming downhill, he's good blitzing, and he's good covered. And so he's able to mask it, with some of his ability. He's not, oh my God, like 40 times, pure. Like he's not that type of player, but he plays with heart. He plays with effort. He comes downhill with his hair on fire. He floats the ball properly, and he's solid in coverage. I think the thing about him, he's drastically undersized. I think he's only like 220, right? Not sure what his official weight is, but he's just a pure football player that we were able to get a value in the 5th round. So I definitely like Shamar James. Now, do I think that we're good at the linebacker position? Right? Think that we're good at the linebacker position? No. But I feel like if you can have Shamar James with Maris, also Kenneth, right? I know y'all love Jack Sanborn, but okay, Jack Sanborn tossed it out there. I feel like we're okay at the linebacker position to maybe keep things afloat until Overstone can come back fully healthy without fully rushing them, right? So I feel like I like what we kind of have in Shamar James because of the athleticism. The traits aren't super sexy, right? But the way that he plays is more than enough. I think the one concern is like, him getting off blocks personally for me, getting off those double teams and different things like that, right? I think that's going to be an issue. But if you're a guy that wants to send another person through the A gap, through the B gap. And if Matty E wants to cause pressure and cause havoc with Micah Parsons, Donovan, y'all call him D Easy, Fowler, and then Shamar, you have some guys that can really turn up on that defense, which I definitely like. And then once we get Overshown back, it gives us more youth and more high octane. And Maris, I think T-Jack, I think Maris, depending on how things really shape out, right? Because I think that Sanborn might be the translator, kind of like Eric Kendricks was. But I think for Maris, he's going to eventually grow into just being the quarterback of our defense at the linebacker position. I really like Maris. I love Maris last year coming out of Notre Dame. He's extremely just intelligent at the linebacker position, which you guys know that I love. And then Johnny Cornelius, okay, this was kind of, damn. How many offensive linemen does Lou need on our offensive line? And so for me, that's where I was kind of like, all right, bro, enough is enough, right? But looking at the player independently, he is a solid player. I mean, you guys know he played with Connerly, right tackle. I forgot, Connerly went to Washington, right? So kind of gives you that position flex, But me personally, I felt like that could have been a wide receiver or that could have been a running back. I feel like the offensive line thing has been a little overkill because you mentioned like we wouldn't draft Tyler Booker. So now you have a backup pretty much in Brock Hoffman. All right, so you have Brock Hoffman in your backup. You have Awesome Richards. You have Sadiq Charles. They brought in somebody else, right? They brought in somebody else for offensive line. And then you also have TJ Bass. You have more than enough on the back layer. I don't think that using another fifth on an offensive lineman was optimal. But looking at it from an individual basis, I think he's a hell of a player. So it's really going to be interesting to see who is going to be out, right? Who is going to be out? Because the Cowboys are sending a message, a clear message at the offensive line position that they don't really like some of y'all. You know what I'm saying? They don't really like some of y'all. Yeah, Nate Thomas, they really don't like some of y'all. So they are pretty much just having open competition at the offensive line position. Now, me personally, my question mark still remains. It wasn't the right guard spot for me. I felt like it was perfectly fine whether he went Booker or not, but I do like Booker. I feel like the left tackle, who is going to win that? Who is going to win that job? That is something, that's the number one thing I will be looking at camp. And I don't think it's solidified that Tyler Guyton has won that job or will start with that job and maintain it at the left tackle position. It's going to be open season at left tackle, And I know, LB mentioned, right, hope is best five. Shoddy has mentioned that. So it could be a situation where maybe they do kick Tyler Smith out to left tackle, and then maybe Cornelius might be the left guard, right? They could put him at left guard, or maybe Austin Richards, kind of box them in, Cooper Beebe at center, Booker at right guard, and then Steele at right tackle. But the left tackle position will be the number one thing I will be focusing on as we get to camp, because I think it's open season, open competition. I just feel like something happened with Tyler Guyton. It really made them uneasy. And it could have been with Mike McCarthy or something. Like something's not there. Like I said, when you have a player who was your first round draft pick, left tackle, all right, and then even in pretty much meaningless games because Dak was out and you had Cooper Rush and Tyler Guyton still was benched, that's a sign, right? And then to have Duke come out and speak publicly on Twitter about Tyler Guyton, that's a sign, right? And then for the Dallas Cowboys to go offensive line again and then circle back in the fifth and go offensive line again and bring so many different pieces in the offensive line. I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to Tyler Guyton. And the left tackle position is open for the Dallas Cowboys. And somebody's going to step up and take it, or they might have to bring in a guy. So that's going to be my number one. So maybe that could be a situation where we're looking at Cornelius maybe as right tackle of the future, or possibly rotational. Well, they might say, shit, Tyler Smith, go out there. I mean, you're going to have to pay Tyler Smith left tackle money anyways. So maybe it could be a situation where they kick Tyler Smith back out to left tackle like he did his rookie season, and maybe plug in Cornelius or someone else who shows some promise at left guard and keep things moving with the best five. I've always been a proponent of best five, because if you're going to try to build the offensive line and spend all this draft capital, you better have your best players out there. You better not be Tyler Guyton just out there because he's safe. No. You better have your best players out there. Just like my dog Savage says, smash the like button. 132 of us in here, only 28 hit the like. Smash that like, share the content. Facts, what he said. Let's get this content out there and make sure people are aware of what we're doing in this community. Salute to everyone, man, for all the support, just across the board, not just on YouTube, but Instagram. I got an Instagram post, y'all. We're probably about to have my first million viewed post on Instagram. We're probably like at 800,000 right now, so we'll probably get there. TikTok's booming, you know what I'm saying? We did a post 90,000 on TikTok, so the numbers are going up, and people are finally really starting to see the type of draft work that we do in our community. Jay, I think it's Toyoya. Probably pronouncing that wrong, right? And that's why I like reading the Beast, right? Because that's the pronunciation of the name, right? But Big J out of UCLA, that is what I'm going to call him, right? Big J out of UCLA. I'll say this about Jay. Mozzie, bro. Mozzie, dog. Hey, bro. Hey. Don't be mad at me. You know what I'm saying? I know you've been through some, Dan Quinn made you lose weight and all this. Mozzie, dog, you are now on alert. You are now on alert, bro. You are now on alert, bro. Because Big J out of UCLA, he is lunch pill as hell, and his motor does not burn out, y'all. His motor does not burn out. So he is a guy that can take on blocks, lunch pill, don't really smile too much. Osa's already championing him in on Instagram and say, welcome, got another Bruin in the house. And I ain't calling him Juicy J. I ain't calling him man Juicy J. Hell nah. I'm not calling him Juicy J. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell nah, bro. You know what I'm saying? I call him Big J out of UCLA. Hey, Mozzie, bro. Hey, just say you've been warned, right? You are on a ticking time bomb, because this kid, he has it. He definitely has it. And he definitely has a lot of upside potential. Yeah, I ain't calling that man Juicy J. And then when it comes to Tommy, I'm going to be keeping a buck with you guys. I really didn't scout Tommy too much, so I'm going to get into his film. So I really didn't dive in too much when it comes to Tommy, their defensive tackle. But when it comes to Jay, I watched a lot of UCLA film, and I know this kid, man, he is one of those ones, right? He is one of those ones who is really going to get up. So overall, like I said, you can say no to Ratchet. Juicy J can't. No, bro. No. We are not about to call that man Juicy J. Hell no, dog. Hell to the no. But like I said, y'all, overall, when it comes to this draft class, it was a very good draft. I think the Dallas Cowboys went out there and executed this draft. I know the wide receiver thing kind of hurts, right? I know not getting the elite running back, because I feel like, I'm also talking about Phil Moffa, right? Phil Moffa did the film breakdown on him. Phil Moffa, power runner, good leadership, had some injuries, doesn't have the most insane, crazy burst, right? That's going to make you jump out of your seat, but he finishes strong, has good balance after contact, 1,100-yard rusher, because we know that he split carries at Clemson with Will Shipley, who went to Philly, right? So overall, good running back, and I feel like Phil will work his way up to where it might not be this year, but it'll be in the future. He might be our jab, right? So he's our jab, right? And I've been talking about this, right? Thunder and lightning, you got to work the jab in the run game, work the jab, work the jab, work the jab. I'm getting back in the boxer ring today, right? It's getting my life back. So work the jab, work the jab, work the jab. And then Jadon Blue's going to be our right cross. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be our knockout punch, right? So you have guys, whether it's Javonte Williams or Phil Maffa, who is going to be your jab, that behind this newly molded offensive line, whoever that 5 might be, can really start to punch defenses a little bit, all right? And then you have Jadon Blue, when you wear those defenses down, it's cut and crease, GG's in the trap. Phil Maffa played through injuries, though, and still did pretty well. Yeah, he had shoulder. I think he also had an ankle injury as well. So yeah, he was solid. And I think everyone's talking about check out Maffia's highlights versus Florida State. Listen, bro. Listen, dog. Hey. This is a J Tuck announcement. We are not going to constantly sit back and play all these players' highlights versus Florida State. I get it. They went crazy. I know Donovan. Watch Donovan's film. D-Easy went crazy on Florida State. Oh, I know. Oh, you want to watch Amari Hampton? Watch Amari Hampton versus Florida State. Oh, if you want to watch Phil Maffa, okay, check out Phil Maffa. All right, I get it, bro. I get it. All these players went crazy on Florida State. I was there. I seen it. You know, I might get my dude. Getting his name. Will. Goddamn, forgetting. Will Blackman. My bad, Will. I might get my dog Will Blackman on the show because y'all know he coached at Boston College. So he coached Donovan at Boston College this past year. So I hit him up about him, kind of talked about him, but I'm going to see if I can get Will on the show. I know he's busy right now. He just got a new gig. Salute to Will Blackman on the NFL Network, doing big things out there. Salute to you, bro. But I'll see if he has time for us to kind of come and talk about Donovan because he was on the Boston College. So I get it, right? All these players went crazy on Florida State. Oh, Tuck, break down the Phil Maffa film versus Florida State. No, if you watch my Phil Maffa film, you notice I ain't put that Florida State game in there. I ain't put that shit in there, bro. You know what I'm saying? We get it. I went to the Louisville game. I did, who else did I do? I forgot other games. I ain't putting that Florida State film in any of these players' clips. We get it. You know what I'm saying? Toss them games out. They don't count, man. But Phil Maffa, good leader, good quality guy, good vision, patience. Like, even though he's a bigger, like, 6'1", 230, he doesn't run bulky. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't run bulky. Now, does he have tight hips? Yeah. Is he? No, right? But he doesn't run bulky. He still has a gear and can get that burst, right? And he has good patience and vision. You know what I'm saying? So he's more of a complete running back. I just don't think that Phil has the ability to separate from defenders in the open field. At the NFL level, you might see it on occasion, but it's not going to be a constant, which is perfectly fine. Not every running back has to be able to hit their head on the goalpost, right? You just need good quality guys. And the thing that I like the most about Phil, and I think this is probably why the Cowboys liked him as well, is that whether you're running a gap scheme or a zone scheme, he can kind of have balance. So he's not one way or the other. So I think he can fit in a multitude of different schemes, which I think will probably be the reason why the Cowboys and Coach Clayton Adams was attracted to Phil Maffa. So I know some people in the comments, he's not even going to make the roster. Bullshit. Bullshit. Play Phil like he's soft if you want to. He's going to make the roster, bro. He is going to make the roster. And I feel like having Blue, Javonte, even Miles Sanders, right, and Phil, if you give me those four, That is a much better situation than Rico, Zeke, Royce Freeman, and Deuce. I feel like we have upgraded our running back room better than where we were this time last year. Now, of course, y'all know my motto, right? Week six, week six, we're not gonna post, any we're not gonna post oh my god, this dude's a monster, this dude's a beast, right? Because in the content world, people are just trying to get the videos out there quick as shit because people are excited about draft picks. So it's like, oh my god, Cowboys got a beast in Phil Maffa. They're playing like 2-minute videos, just showing some highlights and shit. Like, y'all know we don't do that here on this channel, right? So we're gonna break every player down, the good, the bad, the ugly, but we're not gonna hype everybody up until week six. But just kind of going off how I feel the film thus far, my gut, I think that we are in a much better situation running back room wise than we was last year. I would take Javante over Rico. I would take Jaden over Deuce. I would take Miles Sanders over Zeke, and I would take Phil Maffa over Royce Freeman. So I feel like we're in a much better situation there. But here comes the tricky part about this draft, right? This is the tricky, confusing part where I see both sides of the argument. The Cowboys killed this draft, right? They killed this draft. They did a phenomenal job. I like this draft class. I love it a lot more than I liked last year, actually the past 2 year classes, right? So I feel like they did a phenomenal job, right? But the big problem with this draft class, it didn't move anything. Like it didn't change the landscape of the Cowboys season, right? And I feel like that's why the other side of the coin for Cowboys fans are just like, I'm not feeling it. You know what I'm saying? Because the way that I feel, and I do, you know what I'm saying? Even though I know we're supposed to be in positive season, if I feel like right now the Dallas Cowboys were third in the NFC East coming into the draft, I still feel like they're third coming out of it, even with the additions. Because also the other teams improved. Philly had another phenomenal draft. They didn't even have to do shit this year. Everything kind of fell to them, right? Philly had a good draft. Washington had a good draft, like what they did, and also the Giants. Outside the Jackson Dart thing, I think the Giants had a really good draft as well. So I don't feel like this draft class was enough to move the massive needle that we needed. I feel like there were certain players in this draft that could have moved the needle. We've done numerous mock drafts at nauseum where if you would have got a Matt and then got a Henderson, that's a needle move. That's a massive swing. Or if you would have got a Golden and a Judkins, that was a massive swing. I feel like we got really good guys, right? We have really good guys, but it's not a massive swing where I can say, oh, shit, okay, now I see what we're doing. We are back in NFC championship contention. No, I feel like we still need a wide receiver too. You know what I'm saying? We still need a left tackle. I think our defensive interior is a little bit better improved, right? But it's going to be like the cornerback position. If Diggs is going to be on PUP, Revel's still going to be maybe on PUP, right? Because I don't want them to force him off the knee. Cornerback is still a need, right? So I just feel like that is where we currently are, is that it just wasn't a massive needle mover. So I see why some Cowboys fans are just like not feeling it, this, right? But if you look at the Cowboys draft from an independent standpoint, it was a very good draft. I think we are set with O-line, bro. I hope so. Like I said, the one question for me still is left tackle, right? I feel like left tackle, everything else outside of that, we're good. You know what I'm saying? We're good, right? The left tackle is going to be something I'm going to keep focus on all offseason, during camp, preseason. Like, that is where we're working at that. So overall, like I said, the way that I kind of explained it to some people is like, think of it as like a Drake album, right? Where we all know, I know there's probably some Kendrick fans in here, but I'm a huge Drake fan, right? The thing about Drake will have a bunch of incredible songs on his albums, but the album is never complete. It's just a bunch of just good. It's almost like a playlist, right? I feel like when it comes to the Cowboys, we have a bunch of great songs, but we still haven't put that classic album together. You see what I'm saying? Now there still is some opportunity out there. We'll talk about that here, but I just feel like that's how this draft was. It's like, okay, ooh, I like that Tyler Booker song. That shit jams, right? But then it's a few skips, and it's like, oh shit, I really like that Siobhan Rebel song. You know what I'm saying? I really like that D-Eazy song. Oh, this Shamar James track are kind of growing me a little bit. This Phil Moffitt, you know what I'm saying? But the album, it just isn't complete as of yet. Where it's like, okay, I understand. I understand the concept of the album, the transitions, kind of move together. That's what I can say, right? Like all that comes into play and putting together a great album, right? CFO Sports, did we get Kendall Paul or did they do a behind the door deal? So we didn't get Kendall Paul. Kendall Paul is going to the Raiders. So he has opportunity with the Raiders. He got invited to their camp. So salute to all the guests that salute to my dog CFT. Salute to all the guests that was on our show. So Amari Kite, who was an offensive lineman who played for Alabama, then went to UCF. He is going to the Seahawks. So he signed a deal with the Seahawks. Then we had Kendall Paul. He was a camp invite to the Raiders. And then you had John Pius, who was on the show Cover 3, that me, DMV, and Rome interviewed. He got a camp invite to the Browns, right? Salute to those kids out there and getting their opportunity. Like I was telling them, I was talking to KP, of course, you're always going to be a little upset, right? When your name doesn't get called or, you don't get a UDFA contract offered. But hey, I told him, like, bro, you've been proving yourself your entire life. Just go do it. Just go do it again. You've been just having to prove yourself your entire life. What is one more time gonna hurt? You know what I'm saying? So go out there. As long as you get the opportunity, that's all that matters, right? There's so many kids out there that didn't even get a camp invite or anything, and they're figuring out what's next. At least you got your foot in the door. Now it's time to go do what you do and go ball. Let's see here, bro. Let's see, can I get a wrench? Yeah, we could pass out wrenches. Hold on. Pass out ratchets. All right. Cool. All right. So yeah. So a lot of people ask me, okay, what about the Pickens trade or Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen? It'd be funny, right? You guys know I like Pickens, but the funny thing about that, right? The I-9, yeah, I was a coach. I was a certified coach for my son when he was little bitty, like 4 or 5. I coached basketball, which is a huge headache because they couldn't dribble or do anything. They were just running around like a bunch of chickens with their head cut off, and you know what I'm saying. So I was an I-9 coach, man. This was all the I-9 coaches out there. But I think it'll be funny when it comes to Pickens, right? Is that the Cowboys really prided themselves on this draft of drafting captains and leaders and captains and this and that, right? And what a crazy thing that would do to bring in all these leaders, all these captains, all these do things the right way guys, and then just toss a George Pickens bomb in the middle of all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you imagine Tyler Booker, leader, Siobhan Rebel, leader, Phil Moffitt, and Shamar James, leadership, and, and Jay, like all these types of leader guys, and then go and grab a George Pickens grenade and just bow and just blow the whole shit up. I don't think that George Pickens will probably be in play. Pickens, dog, better get over it. Hey, bro, I love Pickens. You ain't got to say nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? I think Pickens and CeeDee Lamb would be high octane, right? But I still just think that would they throw that grenade in the middle of it? I do not know. So then it comes down to Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper. I would like Amari Cooper back. I also would like Keenan Allen's addition. But Rome, earmuffs, bro. Earmuffs. I sent Rome the picture this morning, so Rome's already pissed. He already knows where I'm going this way, right? I know, y'all don't want to hear this from Tuck. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all want to hear this from Tuck, but I guarantee y'all guys, it just is what it is. Jalen Tolbert, he's getting the opportunity whether y'all want it to happen or not, right? Because he has the two biggest sponsors in Dallas. He has Dak. I showed the photo to Rome this morning, got pissed off at me. Jalen Tolbert and Dak were sitting at the table. I know where they were at, right? I saw it on Instagram, right? Dak and Jalen Tolbert are sitting at the table, BFF, best buds, laughing and chucking it up. And then you toss in Brian Schottenheimer, and Jalen Tolbert are like this. You got the two biggest sponsors in Dallas, bro. He might not, Jalen Tolbert don't even need Jerry. He has Brian Schottenheimer, who is 1,000% sold on him, and Dak Prescott. And then when Stephen Jones at the podium and said, hey, well, Jalen Tolbert, he was our leading wide receiver in touchdowns, and we think that he can develop into a, wide receiver too. I just said it is what it is, bro. It just is what it is, bro. And I also think that Mingo is going to get the opportunity to be wide receiver 2 alongside Dak Prescott because he was the 4th round pick. So in the Cowboys' mind, you have to think like them, right? And this is the hard part. This is the hard part of doing content, doing what we do, right? There's a fun part of draft coverage where it's, what would we do? Tuck, what would you do? I would trade up and go get Genty. Or if Mac was there, I'm getting Mac. Or if Golden is there, I would go get Golden. Or I would trade up in the 4th round and go get, Caleb Johnson. Or we start talking about what we would do. But then as Jane Slater always puts on Twitter, that splash of water where we have to start thinking what the Cowboys will do, right? And that's what sucks. It's boring, but it just is the reality for them to have Jonathan Mingo give up a 4th round pick, all right? 4th round pick for Mingo, for them to spend a 3rd round pick on Tolbert, who he has ascended, right? He has ascended. If we're going to be fair about it, he has ascended, right? Then they also drafted Ryan Flo, right? They re-signed Turpin. They brought in Paris Campbell and then Jalen Brooks. The Cowboys are going to feel like they are good at wide receiver unless it's a massive blinking light, right? And I don't think that we're going to get to that point unless we get to camp and there's an injury, or we get to the season and it's just like, this shit ain't it, right? You kind of know what we did that year. We brought in T.Y. Hilton, you know what I'm saying? It was one of those things where they tried to go without it until it blew up, and then they started scrambling, right? Then they started scrambling, right? Trying to figure things out. I feel like they're going to go into the season with we're okay unless it's a massive, massive problem and we're sitting back saying, okay, Tolbert ain't it, Mingo ain't it, and it'll be a move that we try to make prior to the trade deadline. I know that sucks hearing it. I know that's not what I would do, at all, but it's just me. And I see people talking about, Henry Ruggs, but Isaiah Bond is still out there. Would I bring in Isaiah Bond? 1,000%. But Tucky has it 1,000%. Here is why I would bring in Isaiah Bond, all right? If I'm the Dallas Cowboys. 1, Texas. Okay. All right. 2, you love second chance stories, Jerry Jones. And 3, let's not act like I know we're trying to put on this front that we're holier than thou and leadership is big. No, 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 no. We have signed a lot of guys with these type of assault cases or different things going on, and you didn't blink twice, right? Go look up why Cavante Turpin didn't get drafted. All right? Go look up Sam Williams. All right? We brought in Peyton Hendershot. Y'all remember Peyton Hendershot? Go look up Peyton Hendershot. All right? Y'all remember Lawel Collins? Lawel Collins had a situation. All right? J. Lou had a situation. All right? We went and got Greg Hardy, brought him in. We stood by Zeke through his entire case. Keep it going? Yeah. Here, Brandon Boyce. Josh Ball kicked out of Florida State, had to go to Butler County and go to Marshall. We drafted Josh Ball. I am not going to stop right now for Isaiah Bond. Not with that type of talent sitting out there. Not with this void, right? Pac-Man Jones. So I would not now pick the time to act holier than thou when it comes to Isaiah Bond. You had the opportunity to get a dynamic speedster wide receiver for cheap. For cheap, Steven, Jerry, for cheap. And he would forever, ever be indebted to you for taking the opportunity and to bring him in to the Dallas Cowboys, and you might get you a diamond in the rough with Isaiah Bond. I would do it 1,000 times right now and lose zero sleep. If he goes to jail, whatever, then you cut him. It's zero risk, 1,000% upside. 1,000% upside. All right. We're at my dog landlord in the building, man. Tuck, what's happening, Tuck? We got to start 3 and 6 again to move to a wide receiver. Sad but true. This is what the team weapons try to avoid, but we put up a fight. Yeah, team weapons, bro. We scrapped to the very end, but we got our ass kicked, Henny. Not only did we not get a weapon, they went 2 offensive linemen. I'm sorry, landlord. Not only did we, you know what I'm saying, they went 2 offensive linemen for a wide receiver, bro. Team weapons, we got our ass kicked and drug all over this draft. That's why I waved the white flag. That's why I waved the white flag. I give up, bro. They drafted 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive tackles, 2 running backs before they even sniffed at the idea of a wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? I give up, bro. Y'all won. A lot of people like, oh, well, Tuck, next year's class, we get it wrong. I'm not doing no running backs next year's class. I am not doing no wide receivers in next year's class when it comes to the Cowboys. Think about all the wide receivers that the Carolina Panthers went and got, right? Think about the Houston Texans. They went and got Higgins and Jalen Noel from Iowa State. You know what I'm saying? All these other teams were just loading up on wide receivers. Some took 1, some took 2, some took 3. You know what I'm saying? The damn Bears who drafted Rome Odunze and have DJ Moore and then drafted a wide receiving tight end in Loveland said, I don't give a damn. Give me Luther Burden too. Give me Luther Burden as well. Give me Luther Burden as well, bro. The Bears said, I don't give a damn. We're going to find a way. They are loaded up at wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? So for us, bro, white flag, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, team trenches. Hey, y'all took us out behind the woodshed and y'all beat the black off our ass, bro. It was bad. You know what I'm saying? So y'all got it. Maybe next year. Yeah, white flags, landlord. White flags. Do the victory lap. You was right about Harold Fanning. You said late second or early third. Yeah, I just feel like Fanning, good player. It just has to be how he's utilized. And the one thing I didn't see Loveland, even though it just is what it is, right? Going before Tyler Warren. But I felt like what Ben Johnson could have did with Tyler Warren would have been scary with his creativity and the stuff that he likes to do. But as far as the tight end is concerned, I'm cool. Mason Taylor went to the Jets. Love Mason Taylor. Love his auntie. You know what I'm saying? Love his auntie. You know what I'm saying? But salute to Mason Taylor out there as well. I've been fighting for 2 years, bro. Hey, I give up. Hey, I give up. I give up. Yeah, it was a landslide. They dog walked us, bro. They dog walked us. I said, hey, y'all got it. So it could be a situation where, like I said, they're going to have to make a move. But I just feel like you said, landlord, they're not going to make a move unless shit really hits the fan, right? I feel like if it hits the fan, this will be, let's say if Dak comes out in the first four games, he's leading the league in interceptions again. Then it'll be okay. Who was out there we can trade for? Then they'll probably, maybe reach out to Carolina and see if they can pull one of those guys, and or reach, they'll try to find some overflow, right? Once that kind of happens, but they're gonna let it really hit the fan before they make a move, right? They don't feel it as a sense of urgency like we do. I think that's the biggest problem. Yeah, me too, landlord. We tried. Yes, land, bro. We tried. We tried, dog. I tried. Tez Johnson was out there. I was, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I gave up. You know what I'm saying? I gave up. I gave up on the whole idea of bringing in wide receivers. Now, we did bring in some UDFAs, and we'll get to the UDFAs here in a second. Signings. So we'll bring some UDFAs in a second. Here it is. I know Trayshawn Holden, we'll get to his film here in a second. I would have personally liked if they would have brought in Xavier, man. I feel like they would have brought in Xavier Restrepo. I feel like that would have been a good Dak-friendly target who would have loved it, right? But as right now, we're looking at Josh Kelly and we're looking at Trayshawn Holden. Now, when it comes to Trayshawn Holden, we'll get to the film. Like I said, he has the size, right? He's more explosive. He's more explosive than Tolbert. He's a little bit more high octane. But I don't think that he is as seasoned as a wide receiver than Jalen Tolbert currently is. He would have to grow into that because a lot of times, right, just getting separation, especially in press and different things like that, he tends to struggle a little bit. So I feel like Trayshawn Holden can grow into it. But if you're looking for the now, I don't think he gets us more now than what we already have, right? And that's the same thing for Josh Kelly. But I'll say this with Holden and also Kelly, they have a little bit more swag in their game, right? They have a little bit more confidence. They play with a little bit more that Cowboys fans are looking for. But I just think from the nuances of being a complete wide receiver that we need instant impact, I don't feel like they are there yet currently, but we'll get to the film and go to that all here in a second. Pittsburgh is ready to give us George Pickens, but I think Dallas is nervous about him. I think they are too, bro, because you can't be nervous about Luther Burden, but be high about George Pickens. You see what I'm saying? Because here's the one thing, bro. I'm telling you right now, so this is my girl Tiff, right? Luther Burden is not coming to Dallas to be no second fiddle to CeeDee Lamb. He ain't, he can probably do that for about 2 to 3 weeks. But he ain't trying to be no second fiddle to CeeDee Lamb. Giving Pickens 3 targets, 4 targets a game. He ain't coming to do that. You know what I'm saying? So good luck. If Mike Tomlin, who is a player's coach, right, couldn't manage George Pickens, I don't know if I want to put that on Brian Schottenheimer. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to put that on Brian Schottenheimer. If I'm going to bring in a guy, I would probably go get you just a veteran guy, Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper, where I don't have to worry much. You know what I'm saying? I know Keenan Allen's going to get open. I just know. I know Keenan Allen knows every route in the route tree. I know Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper can run option routes. I know Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper will be exactly where they are supposed to be. What's wrong with pushing CD? Well, Pickens can't push CD on his best day. You know what I'm saying? He can't push CD anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But the problem would be with that, bro, is that would Pickens be happy being under CD and being the third or fourth option, being second fiddle? I don't think that's the case, right? I just don't think that's the case where if George Pickens gets the Jalen Tolbert type targets 3 to 4 a game, he would be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's the case when it comes to Pickens. He would probably want volume too. Now, I feel like from a talent perspective, right, he is a massive upgrade over what we have. I take Pickens from a talent perspective over Mingo, over Tolbert, over what we have. But if you were a culture, locker room, all draft, leadership, all draft, don't throw in that Pickens grenade in the middle of this locker room. You're just not ready for it. You're just not ready for it. Expect Ferguson to be number 2, more play action equals. Yeah, so I was saying that on Twitter, right? It's time for Jake Ferguson. We'll get to Jake Ferguson's film, right? It is time for Jake Ferguson to be who we think he is. You know what I'm saying? It's time for him to become who we think he is, right? We've kind of given him some grace, right? We kind of, certain players in Dallas, they kind of get babied a little bit and graced, right? But it is time for Jake Ferguson to really become a top 5 tight end, right? I think he just got engaged and all that stuff, right? Hey, girl is beautiful, bro. Got you one of those ones. Congrats. You know what I'm saying? But Ferg, it's time to become who we think you are. And Clayton Adams, y'all saw what he did with my dog Trey McBride, who went in that same draft, who I wanted, Mike McCarthy wanted, right? So Clayton Adams is a tight end coach. He's an offensive line guy, but he's really a tight end coach. And we're going to do that this offseason. Once we get through all the film of the players that we got, we were going to break down every coach that we got, bar by bar, line by line, from college to all the way to the pros, and really give y'all an in-depth view of who we actually got on the coaching staff. I didn't do that because we're in the middle of draft season and I have time for all that. But once we kind of tie down everything with the breakdowns, we're going to look at each individual coach. But I feel like Clayton Adams really needs to turn things up a notch when it comes to Jake Ferguson. To be honest with you. Span forward incoming, we can probably see that. Me personally, I wasn't the biggest Span Ford fan. I like John Stevens more than I like Span Ford, but with the injuries now, it's just kind of hard, right? Let's see here. What'd you say? Have y'all heard the term can't have 2 alpha males on one side trying to do other? No. CS Sports, they tripping. Yeah, and see the thing is, like, you can smoke, but you damn sure better make sure you have the culture and coaching in place to be able to manage that, and especially at the wide receiver position, right? Because like I said, you bring in Pickens and give him 4 targets a game, Pickens isn't going to be one of those guys who kind of just sits quietly and as Dak scrolls his iPad and kind of, no. It's going to be, what are we doing? I was open. Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be storming off and Brian Schottenheimer and Coach Adams, Junior Adams having to call. It's going to be that, right? So are you prepared to have the coaching staff and culture in-house to handle that? I don't think we do, right? I just don't think that we do. Love Pickens the player, but as a fit for Dallas, I just don't see it. Spanford gives me Mercedes Lewis vibes. I mean, I like Spanford, but I'm just not the biggest fan of him. Now going to some of these undrafted guys, all right. The one thing I will say, because we'll talk about Tyler Neville, tight end, we'll talk about Rivaldo, tight end out of Auburn, right? We'll get to that point later. It's just in the film. But there are three players who I really like from our undrafted guys. One, and I've been talking about him in our mock drafts, is Elijah Clark, safety out of Syracuse, right? And Syracuse had a lot of talent. Man, I tell you guys right now, though, keep it a buck. I just need to become the GM for the damn Chargers. I just need to become the Chargers GM because the Chargers pretty much took my entire draft board and said, thank you, Tuck. It was crazy. I know I've always kind of joked about that, but the Chargers, they listen to my draft content. I'm not sure if it's coming through my dog, Sean Merriman, but bro, they went and got Amari Hampton, all right? Then they went and got Trey Harris, all right? Then you guys know I was extremely high on Arondé Gatson, the tight end out of Florida State. Now, out of Syracuse. A lot of people had Arondé Gatson as an undrafted guy, not being drafted. I think Dane Brugler had Arondé Gatson as a UDFA. The Chargers took him with the 5th round pick on Arondé, OG2, right? And then I've been speaking about a player on Twitter. I spoke to Jim Nagy about him, was asking like who should get a Senior Bowl invite. I said Luke Grimm, wide receiver out of Kansas. If there's any wide receiver in this class I am willing to put on my tab, it's Luke Grimm, hardworking, he fights hard, doesn't have all the measurables or the speeds that you're looking for, but he get open and he is tough as nails and showed up every Saturday. Said that about Luke Grimm. Luke Grimm went undrafted. Guess where he went? The Chargers. Chargers picked up Luke Grimm. So we might have changed this to the Chargers fans. I'm not sure, but listen, the Chargers really need to at least send me a gift card or something, bro, because from damn near Derwin James to Asante Samuel to Quentin Johnson to Rashawn Slater to Joe Alt, who was my number 1 prospect last year, like the Chargers look at Jay Tuck's board and says, thank you, dog. Thank you. Any word on Kendall Paul? I was looking for where he went. Dave, he got an invite to the Raiders. So Kendall Paul has an invite to the Raiders. Yeah, so Elijah Clark, really like him. Another safety, he played next to Elijah Clark. Justin Barron, liked him. So I like what they have as far as those safeties are concerned. And then also Zion Childress out of Kentucky. I really like this kid, Zion, right? I like his toughness. I like his attitude. I like his tackling. So if there's any guy that I can sit back and say from the undrafted market, who could be one of those? I would probably say Zion. I would probably put my money on Zion from a special teams guy to kind of work his way up. And I think he'll be a guy that we'll like in preseason and also kind of hear his name buzzing in camp. Now, the one thing I'll say, when I'm looking at this undrafted market, I'm really surprised like there isn't more edge rushers, right? Because typically that's what we've done. But maybe they feel like they're good at edge. They also feel like they're good at linebacker, good at defensive tackle. So it's a lot, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and pretty much a corner, and Bruce Harmon, who I'm not familiar with, and then a bunch of safeties. So a bunch of safeties. So, overall, I really like Zion, and I think that Zion will be the guy that if you tell me, Tuck, who you got to put your money on, I think Zion will be my guy. But we'll get into the film of all those guys, and we will break them down properly as we gear up to kind of close and put a ribbon on this, get ready for rookie camp. And, yeah, y'all. So, like I said, appreciate the opportunity. We're going to go live, not today, probably tomorrow in the studio live. But I'm dropping film sessions daily, right? So all these players from Tyler Booker on, We'll drop film on them. Like I said, we don't just do highlights and sell people on, oh, we got it's raining rainbows. Like, no, we'll say, hey, we got a hella good player. He can do this good, but here's where you need to prove, and here's kind of my gauging on where I think he will fit, right? So I did Phil Moffitt today. Definitely checked it out. I feel like Phil Moffitt has talent. He has a lot of upside potential, strong, powerful back, but there's still work to do. Don't feel like, oh, we got our RB1 and we're good. I'm not selling all that. He'll be a guy that's going to work his way into the rotation, work his way through camp, and eventually he can grow into that aspect. So appreciate y'all. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the content. Follow me on all social media platforms at jtuck151. Like I said, we're going crazy right now on Instagram. About to crack a million views on one video on Instagram. Not sure what I get. You know what I'm saying? Not sure if Kim K is going to jump out of a cake or, you know what I'm saying, or Joy Taylor's going to slide in my DMs for doing a mill on Instagram. I thought that was the case, but maybe not, right? And then also on TikTok, we're going crazy right now. So we'll keep up the film sessions, keep up the content, do the live shows. And yeah, we're going to keep working, but we completed the draft, y'all. But there is still a lot of work to do, Cowboys Nation. So I appreciate you all. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged, and go Cowboys. Peace.